For over 16 years, EJDConstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDConstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Oh, great. You have a doorbell camera. Now you have a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
They're breaking into my house!
Ooh, there goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No, not the TV!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them.
With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation.
Plus, free doorbell camera, one that'll actually work for you.
Get out of my house! Get out of the house!
Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
All right, we are live. It is the Squared Circle Digest. I am Sean Stanley. And we got some things to talk about here tonight. AEW Dynamite was last night. Overall, it ended with a 947. So did better than NXT, but was way below what Raw ended up with a 1.9. Due to all the buzz right now created around WWE with Vince McMahon, of course, retiring, and Triple H now in charge of creative. A lot of things happening, a lot of reports, and again, in wrestling, you never really believe anything until you see it. But there are some outlets that are reporting that it looks like Paul Heyman might take a bigger step into, creative side of WWE. He's very Triple H trusts in him. He's had some spats with Stephanie McMahon earlier on in his WWE tenure. Now it seems like that's all kind of resolved, and so possibly even now Paul Heyman taking a larger role in the creative part of Raw and SmackDown. Be interested to see what they do. Do they break it back apart maybe and say, okay, Paul Heyman, you're going to run SmackDown, and Triple H, or even Bruce Pritchard, you're going to run Raw. Again, it's very so much right now up in the air as far as what the next step, I believe, is going to be. SummerSlam has lost a match as well. Those that follow any of the things, Triple H is involved in that as well. Seth Rollins' Riddle is off the card. A injury to Riddle. So Seth Rollins is now off the card. And it is, so Seth Rollins came out and he was like, I'm sorry, I've done everything I can to be on the card. Triple H responded with a quote tweet that said, I hear you. This will be the first pay-per-view, and I get it, it's only been a week and a half, 2 weeks, but this will be the first pay-per-view that I guess you can say will have the prints of Triple H on it. So it will be interesting to see if maybe he swings for the fences here. And again, I know they have reached out, and I apparently, again, listening to outlets, I'm not saying any of this is in stone, but they have reached out to speak with Naomi and Sasha about possibly bringing them back now that Vince McMahon is gone. You have Bayley coming back soon. You have Charlotte Flair, who's still yet to return. The women's division, I think right now, it's going to be very interesting when if Sasha returns, okay? Remember Triple H and Stephanie and the whole group stood up there and was like, it's a revolution, it's a women's revolution, and then it was 4 women that were involved in that. Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha, Becky. And when you look at it now, the way the women's division has grown, Natalya stepped up and became a veteran presence in that as well. Liv Morgan, I think, has been a pleasant surprise from what I think they may have thought Liv Morgan was going to be. I think Shayna Baszler could be more. They just haven't used her correctly. You got Bianca Belair that is on her way to the moon. But how much time are the women going to get? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Does the women's tag team titles come back? Remember, on NXT, before Vince McMahon, the Tuesday before Vince McMahon retired, they threw the NXT championships in the garbage can, at least one half of them. And now they're going to do a tournament to bring back the NXT women's championship, tag team championship, I'm sorry. So now it'll be interesting to see if they end up bringing back maybe the women's, tag team championship for the ladies. Because if they do bring back all this talent, I don't know what they're going to do. What's up, Cap for Life? I don't know what they're going to do with all the women. It almost starts becoming maybe almost too much talent. Where how do they divide it up, I guess, also will dictate that. Because you have to remember, the tag team champions were kind of on both brands. Charlotte will probably come back to the SmackDown roster, I'm guessing. And again, Triple H and Stephanie did invest in the women's division when they were, more privy to being able to run, until Vince put the kibosh on everything and then kind of said, this is what we're doing. So it will be interesting to see which way they go with the women's division, but something to keep your eye on there as well. Frankie Fresco in the trios the 6-man tag championship in AEW looks interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's good. What's going to be more interesting is to see the pairings, because I honestly thought they would keep Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus together long enough to where you would see the them in the trios tournament. And one of the things, again, when you saw the Young Bucks kind of talking with Hangman Adam Page. You had the Undisputed Era coming back next week. Supposedly all signs are pointing toward Omega coming back. You have the Dark Order. You have the House of Black. You have Penta and the three there. What are they called? The Death Triangle. I think they're Death Triangle. You've got who else? Man, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Combat, Blackpool Combat Club. So that's gonna be a good little tournament, and then I'm sure they're gonna throw some surprises or just stick some people together and see what happens there. So no, I'm very interested to see which way they go with it, and also do they bring any other people from ROH, because they did bring Josh Woods, and he's the one that attacked backstage last night when the match was going on. I'm drawing a blank now, man. But they're bringing some ROH talent in, and they're going back and forth. So it'll be interesting to see the matchups. I can't wait till they, put out the tournament and the brackets and see who they do. Because again, remember, maybe they could open up the forbidden door and have some teams from New Japan and everything else in too as well. Cap for Life says Theory versus the Bloodline should be interesting. I think that was more to take a shot at Vince and get the thing there. I mean, I don't see Theory. I see Theory cashing in and it not being successful. Everything I'm seeing, and which means probably it will not. It'll probably happen the other way around. But it seems like they want this to be an unsuccessful cash in, kind of like Corbin back in the day. Look for him to let go of the briefcase maybe as soon as SummerSlam. Honestly, it's a last man standing match, so they're going to beat the crap out of each other, and we'll have to see if they let him go in and turn it in, and then Roman somehow winning it. I think if Roman wins, they're going to get Dolph involved as well, maybe a super kick or something from nowhere. Let's see. Am I the only one who was getting shoot vibes from the Rush and Moxley match? It seemed like they weren't selling like they should have, especially two workers of that caliber. I mean, the one thing, Giovanni, that I can say with AEW sometimes is they're trying to blur the line, I think, a little too much on some of the stuff, man. It's just, I'm not going to say they weren't selling it the way they wanted to, but a lot of these guys now, I mean, it's, and again, I mean, with Roosh, it's one of those things where he's had some issues, and Moxley as well. You know, they get in there, it's not egos, but maybe they didn't agree with what was going on in the match, and they kind of let some of the maybe selling dictate it. But they're both professionals, and he did what was supposed to probably be done at the end. But also, I think, you know, with the way Moxley's, you know, gimmick is it's a little rougher now around the edges, to where it's one of those things where they're trying to blur the line, I believe, on too much stuff now with AEW. Some of the stuff can be cut and dry. Everything doesn't have to be freaking blurred. It's nice to blur some things, but some stuff can be cut and dry. And at times they're trying to, you know, I like the pace that they do their matches and all that stuff, but sometimes I don't understand the concept or the story they're trying to tell in the match. It almost has that independent feel to it, to where it's just kind of go out there, let's get our moves in. Let's kind of look as good as we can look, and then get out of there safe, you know. And that's the way it's coming across to me on TV sometimes in some of the matches, even with some of the guys that have worked for a while. It's coming off as more of an independent feel than a big company feel when I watch AEW. And I may be 100% wrong on this, but that's the way it comes across to me now. I almost feel like some of those guys, the presence of Bryan Danielson is taking a hit. Jon Moxley is taking a hit. Yeah, they're great to watch and everything else there, but now when I watch it, it's kind of like, okay, let's see what happens this week. Hangman with the Young Bucks, yeah, they teased that. Yep. It was good seeing Bryan Danielson back. I didn't understand, and maybe I missed something because, again, I had it on DVR. I was doing some stuff. I had to cut up some clips from camp. So I rewatched it, and I kind of fast forward through some of the promos and some of the talking and things like that. So I may have missed, but I don't know that it made a lot of sense unless they're trying to push the Bryan Danielson injury angle with the head injury. But I just don't understand why he's losing, you know, to a guy who just lost to Wheeler Yuta on a pay-per-view. I mean, you had Hager or whatever come out and grab his foot and everything. And I think if from there he surprised, rolled him up and pinned him, I would have thought more of it, but it just seemed like, I don't know what they're doing with Daniel Garcia. I know some people now on Twitter, everybody's like, Daniel Garcia is Tony Khan's, you know, shiny toy. And I don't think that's true. And it might have been just Bryan Danielson, like, hey, let's push Daniel Garcia, let's put him over. It may just be that simple, but to me, it just did not come across well to me as far as for a main event match. And then to have Jericho come out there and like the guy just won a world championship. I just don't understand the whole thing unless they're trying to create maybe something down the line more again with the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Blackpool Combat Club, because you do got Jericho and Moxley now feuding. So maybe there's something going down the line, but that just made zero damn sense to me last night. Ricky Starks really stole the show. Yeah, he's getting better and better. He literally defended the belt, then put over Hook. That was yes. And then the promo afterwards. And then, the turn by Hobbs was good. I mean, I just think Ricky Starks is one of those guys that he has, I don't want to say he has it, but he has something. Every time you see him on the TV, you get hooked to what he's doing. Whether it's, when you watch him, his motions, his facial expressions, everything has meaning when he does something. When he plays up to the crowd, he understands, the entertainment side, and also of drawing in, as I always say, that emotional investment of the crowd. He understands that. He gets that. He slows everything down, talks slowly, does the movements to where he's just reeling you in. He's just reeling you in. And he has something. And I hope they push him, to, I don't know where they're going to go with. And the interesting thing too is like Wardlow, what is this, the third week in a row? I almost feel like they put a reset on him after what happened with Orange Cassidy, because I think that slowed a lot of the momentum to me. And I get it. I know he beat Orange Cassidy, but to me, Wardlow, if you're pushing him the way they are pushing him, should have beat Orange Cassidy in about 5 minutes, if not less. Not 20 minutes. So, and you haven't seen Wardlow for a little bit. So we'll see what happens there as well. But the Hook thing was fantastic. I don't know if you saw the promo afterwards with Taz talking about, him winning the belt. How much of it is, apparently, supposedly Taz was unaware that Hook was going to actually become the FTW champion. Find that a little hard to believe since that is his belt. It's not even sanctioned by the AEW. It's just kind of what he did in ECW. It's just there. There's a belt that he defends, and now his son carries. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Very interested to see what they do with Hobbs and Starks. I'm very interested to see those two go at it, because hopefully they'll kick off a feud now here, and hopefully it's a feud that'll elevate both of them, because I think Hobbs has something as well. But I think now is the time to start kind of moving Starks up and giving him a nice little push, because I think that dude deserves it, man. And just his promos and the fire and all that stuff, man, just good stuff. I don't know if you guys saw it. And again, I kind of fast forward. What did you think of the Thunder Rosa match on last night? If you can, just throw it in the chat real quick and just let me know. I've watched, but the one I watched was a bunch of botches and where I guess they kind of messed up on certain things. I was just wondering how it came across on TV. I jumped over that match just because it wasn't one that I was really caring a lot about, and I knew I wasn't going to talk a lot about it just because I didn't think Thunder Rosa was going to drop the belt to her. I think it was a way to get her over to the U.S. and kind of get her name there. Frankie Fresco says that was kind of boring. Yeah, okay. All right, I was just wondering. All right, this weekend, by the way, it is StarCast weekend and SummerSlam in Nashville. I skipped Thunder. Yeah, so did I. So did I, Giovanni. I mean, disappointed. So again, in Nashville, Ric Flair today was at Titans camp. I guess he's promoting his little last match, which will be this Sunday. And I don't know how many of you, are interested in the whole StarCast thing and all that. But I wanted to make sure I got this right here. So again, this weekend in New York, in Las Vegas, StarCast, Ric Flair's last match, and for some reason it's not coming up now, of course, because I'm trying to get it to come up. I apologize. Where is this at? Here it is. So this is going to be the event schedule, as I said, it's going to be very interesting. So on Friday, you've got starting at 5 to 8, they're going to have a couple of different shows. Black Label Pro Wrestling presents The Gang Crosses the Line. Then at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, they're going to do the roast of Ric Flair. They're going to have, I've seen already scheduled to speak was Vicky Guerrero, I believe Bully Ray, Charlotte, I believe, Andrade, I believe, and some others. GCW is scheduled to start at 10:30. That's going to go to 1 a.m. That's the People versus GCW. And then 10:30 to 1 a.m., Father James Mitchell's Midnight Karaoke. Can't have a StarCast weekend without karaoke. Saturday, it's going to be a full day, man. They got it's amazing. Well, not a full day, but the Major League Wrestling Figure Podcast, that's with Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. They're going to be there 9 to 10:15. Then you're going to have Insight with Chris Van Fleet. He'll be there till noon. Then the Sessions with Renee Paquette. And looks like special guest will be Bryan Danielson live at StarCast. That'll go to 1:45. Then they're going to have a wrestling card, Music City Mayhem by New Japan Pro Wrestling. One Last Ride for the Horsemen. That's going to have, let's see who they have here. Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, J.J. Dillon, and, of course, Ric Flair. That'll be going on from 2:15 to 3:30. And then they're going to have a 30 years later with Bret the Hitman Hart, because, again, in 1992, it was him and Davey Boy Smith in London, which was a match Davey Boy Smith, I believe, won the Intercontinental title. That's when the British Bulldog won it. Then they will close for SummerSlam, and then the official after party is after SummerSlam on Sunday. Again, man, like I was telling you, this is a complete thing going on. Mick Foley's got a podcast. Saraya, Turning the Page, which is the former Page in WWE. She's going to be doing a hour and 15-minute Q&A. Click This with Kevin Nash will be up there. What's Next with Johnny Gargano, which I think a lot of things are pointing toward him going back to WWE. And then, of course, the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy will be from 4 to 5. Then it is Ric Flair's last match. And again, all this, they did a pretty good little package here. I mean, I know a lot of you probably don't follow a lot of the podcasts and the things like that, but for $99, you get everything, including Ric Flair's match, all of those podcasts that you can watch through the day, the roast and everything. So for $99, not a bad deal there if you're into wrestling, because then you're going to get a lot of the behind the scenes information, some interesting things. I think, Renee Paquette is, Renee Young. She's married to John Moxley, of course. She's going to be talking with Bryan Danielson. I think, the One Last Ride for the Horsemen. That's going to be very interesting to hear some of the stories there, especially since you're going to have, probably the two best versions of the group, the one with Barry Windham and then the one with Lex Luger when Luger took Wyndham's spot, so I think those are the two best. Steve Chapman says, why are they calling it Flair's last match? It's his next match. What's interesting is Conrad, who's promoting this, is his son-in-law. And he said, he was asked, they did a conference call, to talk to the media about the event. And somebody asked him, he's like, is this really Ric Flair's last match? And he said, well, this is the last match that I'm promoting of Ric Flair's. So, again, I think everybody kind of sees, it is there. So it'll be interesting to see, again, Ric Flair, does not retire, but we'll see what happens this time. Heat Fins, what's up, my man? And then, as I said, I wish I had the card right here, but I don't. The undercard, I mean, you're going to have Josh Alexander from Impact taking on Jacob Fatu. You have the Briscoes against the Von Erichs. There's just so much on the undercard. There's a four-way. The Wolves are taking on the Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, it's going to be a great undercard now. Again, the match at the end, I think you're going to see a lot more of Jay Lethal and Andrade than Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett. But we shall see what happens there. I know apparently Ric Flair wanted to do a dive off the top rope, and Charlotte said no. So we'll have to see what happened there. Why did Raw not show Rousey? She's doing SmackDown, so they're not going to have her on there. She's going to be taking on Liv Morgan, so they're going to promote that show there. So that's where you're going to see her. We've got SummerSlam coming up, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you exactly who's winning, who's losing, because I know what's exactly going to happen on this card, and I'm just kidding. I know no clue of what's going to happen, honestly, but look at some of this card. We've got let's see here. Where do we go? You have Liv Morgan against Ronda Rousey. I think Liv Morgan wins the match by disqualification. I think this is time where she finally she did come out during the commercial break and put an arm bar on when we're drawing a blank. Was it Shayna? Was it Shayna at that one? I think it was Shayna, right? She put the arm bar on Shayna. Or no, or was it on Sonya? One of the two. But I think you're going to see Ronda finally turn heel again. I think this babyface crap needs to stop. And I hope that they do change her back to how are we doing? Hold on a minute, Frankie. I'm sorry. No, it's DOU DROP. Dewdrop. DOU DROP. So yeah, there you go. Heat Fin's got it for you. When you look at everything that's going on this card, again, one of the things that is kind of being said over and over again is this is going to be Triple H's first pay-per-view ahead of what you're looking at as far as, this is going to be the one where he can make, shocking things happen. And again, you got to make them make sense. And then what I think makes sense to me on some of this card is just, Ronda Rousey, keep doing the thing. Liv doesn't quit. Liv keeps fighting, won't give up. Does her whole thing, the babyface thing. Finally, Ronda snaps, won't let go of the arm, whatever. Gets herself disqualified. Liv keeps the title, and you can turn Ronda heel and ultimately put the title on her down the line. At the next pay-per-view, there's still Clash of the Castle coming up. You can put the title on her there. I think in this one, you make the statement and have Ronda kind of turn and just get tired of Liv being, the fighter and not giving up. The Usos against the Street Profits, the undisputed tag team championships with Jeff Jarrett as the special enforcer. I think ultimately what's going to happen here is I think you're going to start seeing the Street Profits. See, they can go one of two ways, actually. Now, they could put the titles on the Street Profits. And then down the line, the Usos, Because ultimately, I think, and this is, looking at some of the things that have been written, but again, with now Vince McMahon out of creative, do some of these storylines kind of change now? Because the whole thing was originally to get Montez Ford into a singles role and get him a push as a singles competitor. I think Triple H likes the Street Profits better as a tag team. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where Triple H stands on this. Because again, if Vince McMahon is running this, something happens in that match to start Montez Ford and Dawkins. Either at that point they make the turn, or they start, the little squabble of unsettledness, because again, they're always said they can't win the big match. They can't, if Montez Ford, maybe, is winning or something, and then Dawkins tags in and ends up getting pinned, and Ford's looking at him like, what are you doing? And everything else there. You could work that. Finn says, do you think Montez Ford is ready for a solo run yet? And I mean, I think he's got all the charisma, all the athleticism. It'll be very interesting because I think he does. Yes, I think he could have a now. Are you talking about a run to the main event level right now? Maybe not, but I think he could get up to the U.S. title, the Intercontinental title, one of those, and then ultimately get put into, maybe a main event thing, because he does have the athleticism and the moveset to where you watch it and go, hey, you know what? He could possibly, beat one of those guys. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go in there and he's going to beat Roman Reigns. No, but I think he could be pushed in a solo. Let's see. Charlotte and Ronda are miles ahead of the rest of the women when it comes to working together. They need that when she comes back. But you have to remember, Steve, one of the things that's going to be interesting with with Triple H and Stephanie now calling the shots with Nick Khan, by the way. I'm sorry. Let me not leave Nick Khan out. Nick Khan is co-CEO. I'm not sure, and he does have some say. So I don't want to, leave him out of the equation. But I think Stephanie and Triple H will probably be more toward the wrestling side, with him involved in the business side of it. But when you look at it again, they won't have a meeting with Naomi and Sasha to try to get them back. You have Bayley coming back. Charlotte hasn't returned yet, so she'll also be returning as well. You have Ronda. Liv's doing very well. You have Natalya. I still think Shayna could be pushed better. Honestly, I think Dana could be worked better than a 24/7 title. Raquel Rodriguez is another one that's an up-and-comer. There are so many women on this card that they can do. And one thing that Triple H and Stephanie always focused on was the women and the women's division. So it's going to be interesting to see the direction that the company takes, because when Triple H and them were more involved, remember they did the Women's Revolution pay-per-view. You started seeing Becky Lynch and Charlotte and Bayley and all of them main eventing some pay-per-views. And then Triple H, stepped down or got pushed down, however you want to look at it. And Vince McMahon came back in the role. The women's kind of taking a back seat. Do things change now with Triple H and Stephanie in charge? I'm going to say it's going to change a little bit. How much, I don't know. Ultimately, I think one of the things, and then Rhea Ripley, you're right, Frankie Fresco is right. She did return on Monday night. It's another one you got to factor in. And then there's others that I'm missing that I'm just not thinking about. I mean, you still have Lacey Evans. That's another one that you can work in there very well. Aaliyah's not that bad. She still needs some seasoning. But overall, I think, there's some good stuff going on there with the women. Again, I don't think Charlotte and Ronda are miles ahead of the rest of the women. Are they miles ahead of some of them? 100%. But I think a lot of the problem has been the way the creative vision of the women's division has been a lot of the backlash that's been hurting them. And you got Bianca Belair. Hell, when the hell I'd even forgot Bianca Belair. When you look at that division, I mean, dude, you could start probably a 1 hour WWE women's division show. You could probably start a show. 1 hour again, as I said, 1 hour, but you could probably run just a women's show with the division that they have now. If Sasha, Naomi come back, if you bring back Bayley soon, Charlotte, again, that's on all of that returning and everybody, whole and no other injuries or anything like that. I think you're going to see a difference in the women's division. What are your thoughts now? Triple H and Steph are calling the shots, a possibility of them busting open that forbidden door and opening and working with other companies. I will never say never, but I just my let me see. I want to make sure I put this correctly. AEW, New Japan, right? They're about even. They're helping each other out. It's a win-win. If WWE does that, where's the win for WWE? Because no matter what company, the other company is going to get, the bigger audience to that product. So I guess my question would be, where would the win for the WWE be to do the Forbidden Door? Because the other company will get a win because they'll have more eyes on their product. But what's the win for? But again, here's the thing I'll say with that with Frankie Fresco. When you say more talent, if WWE wants you and you want to do their schedule, you'll get paid. You'll get the money. The schedule's not easy. The schedule's difficult as hell. It is a full-time and a half job. But the pay, as long as you're on the Raw and SmackDown end of it, is more than worth it. But you have to sacrifice and be away from family a lot. That's the thing where some of the talent, they'd rather, and rightfully so, everybody has their own. Again, if you're going to NXT, dude, it makes no sense because you're going to make more money doing there's people in the NXT UK, the referee, they quit and went back to teaching because she was making more money as a teacher. Not sure how much UK teachers get paid, but I know teachers over here don't get paid crap. The fans win. But I mean, maybe you do a one-time pay-per-view or you do maybe a Wrestle Fest. Maybe a WrestleMania weekend, you actually do a Wrestle Fest, and instead of just being WWE, you start bringing in other companies, but then you start getting into politics. And as a matter of fact, Tony Khan changed what Ric Flair's last match was going to be because of the politics backstage. Tony Khan would not allow what they wanted to do, so they had to change the match to what Tony Khan would allow, which was Andrade and Jay Lethal. So politics play a lot in this. I mean, you can sit there and you say all you want. New Japan had to swallow a little bit of their pride and their ego on some of the matches that they had. Why do you think they had, I mean, when you look at it, you had, the Jay White, Adam Cole thing that was the match that they agreed on there. But Orange Cassidy, he took on, why am I drawing a blank on the gentleman's name? Will Ospreay. There's a reason it was Will Ospreay against Orange Cassidy. It wasn't Will Ospreay against, even though he got hurt, Bryan Danielson, or against Jon Moxley, because they wouldn't have been able to figure out who was going to win, who was going to lose. It is a lot of politics, unfortunately, man. It's my poop is bigger than yours. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, and to be honest, man, I mean, it happens that way. And I was fortunate enough when I was on the independent scene to where I was the Future of Wrestling heavyweight champion. And at the same time, before I ended up getting the FOW title, I was originally working with another company called ICW down here, Independent Championship Wrestling. And when they wanted me to win their title as well, but I was already the FOW heavyweight champion. So we ended up having to they ended up booking it belt for belt. And at the time, neither of us were, myself, I wrestled as Sean Allen, and Sean Prime was their champion. We didn't care how it was going to happen. But again, everybody had to agree on, okay, this is what we're going to do. And fortunately enough for me, I ended up getting the win and being the champion in both shows. But also the other thing that came on to it was that sometimes the shows were booked on the same night. I can't be in two places at one time. You know, and again, very smaller politic level compared to what the hell's happening in WWE, AEW, Impact. I mean, also, that's why the Forbidden Door, by the way, for Impact and AEW closed. They didn't like the way some of their talent, Impact talent, was being booked on AEW TV. And that's just the problem with it. Frank Fresh says, how much they make in NXT? I've heard, some absurd numbers. I've also heard some people make some good money too, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But for most of them coming in under, contract and training, I think some of them are making, I think it was $1,000 a week or something, which again, not bad, but you're in Tampa, you have to feed yourself, you're working out, you still got all your stuff. You got your tanning, you got everything that you have to take care of to be a wrestler. You're having to do. And a lot of those guys don't get the contracts changed. I mean, hell, look what happened with I want to call him Malachi Black. Yeah, Malachi Black, Aleister Black, when he was in the in WWE. They messed up and left him on his NXT deal. They upped his money, but he was still under his NXT deal, which is why he was able to go to AEW in 30 days. On your NXT contract, there's a 30-day no compete clause. On your roster, main roster, it's 90 days. So you have to wait 3 months before you can debut with another company. Whereas with your NXT, it's 30 days, which is why he was able to just roll over and show up at AEW in 30 days. Because WWE didn't look at his contract. He was still wrestling. Yes, they upped his pay because he's on the main roster, but they never flipped him over to a main roster contract. They kept him signed to his NXT deal for some reason, which is why he was able to do what he did and get over to AEW so quick. And that's also why a lot of these wrestlers don't show up right away on a lot of the things. You have a couple that, again, depending on how they're Adam Cole's another one. He was on a handshake deal with WWE saying, I'll wrestle up to this point, but then I want to no compete and I'm free, or if I resign, and it was worked out that way. So how much is Laredo making in NXT because she quit MMA with Bellator? Yeah, again, those contracts, man, I'm sure they worked out a deal with her. You know what I'm saying? I mean, also, the two twins that are signed to the University of Miami, they're under NIL deals with the WWE. The the Lavender twins or something like that? Those twins are under the NIL deal with WWE as well. So they have, NIL deals with a lot of the talent that's still in college because, when they finish there, if it doesn't work out, then they can transition into being pro wrestlers. Look, man, you can make good money. It's all about your contracts. And if you're making good, I mean, hell, I think what Cody signed for $3 million for 3 years, $3 million a year. I mean, if you can make yourself a name, you can make a pretty damn good living. And that's $3 million base, because you still get your merchandise, all your royalties and stuff too. Although the royalties have kind of dried up a little bit, like because of pay-per-views and things like that. They don't have those anymore. So, but again, Four Horsewomen reunion. Possibly. I always wanted to have Ronda, Shayna, and Sharina, Marina Shafir, and what was the other one? There was another one that was with Ronda, and then the Four Horsewomen. I always wanted to see those two groups go at each other. I think it would have been a hell of a match. I really do. Let's see. Yeah. How much was he making AEW? Apparently not $3 million. But again, AEW started off as a tier, and nobody ever has came out and said what their tiers were. And to be honest, I think it's probably gone to shit now anyways, because you can't tell me Bryan Danielson's on a tier. You can't tell me Jon Moxley's on a tier. You can't tell me, before it was everybody's kind of on a tier, and then you had Moxley and Jericho were on, a whole different, because of the name recognition that they brought to AEW. And then you also have to remember Cody, the Bucks, and Omega were under executive. So they had two different contracts. So you had your, and Billy Gunn's under the same thing, because he's a trainer / coach there. He has a contract for that. That's kind of like a corporate contract. And then he's paid as an independent performer when he's when he wrestles. So they had two deals. They had two contracts going on there, So, but the one thing I don't know is what I never heard what their tier rankings were. And obviously they weren't that great, because MJF's complained. And again, MJF wanted to get a little bit more money. He did get a little bit more money, but still not to what I think he felt he deserved. And he's probably right. Especially when you start seeing, all these guys that are coming in now, and he's been there since day one and helped really build what AEW has become. So to me, I mean, again, all this could be a work, and he shows up and we'll find out. The other thing I forgot, and I wrote it down right here, is right now, the next live NXT in your house, whatever they're going to call it, is scheduled to be on the same day as AEW All Out, September 4th. So now the talk is, will they change it to run earlier in the day like they did when it was WrestleMania, or so they'll run in the afternoon, the NXT, and then AEW All Out will have theirs, because the thinking is the numbers for NXT will probably get hurt if they run the same time as the NXT All Out pay-per-view. And I believe they are right, because there's not a lot on NXT that I would want to see over. And then again, I know I complain a lot about some of the AEW and the stuff there, but their pay-per-view cards are usually pretty damn spot on match-wise. Again, some of the stuff, miscues and things like that happen, whatever. But booking-wise, most of their pay-per-views are pretty damn spot on. And I would definitely watch AEW over anything NXT puts out. And listen, man, maybe Triple H will change it a little bit. But Vince wanted to be back more to the training grounds of what the envision of NXT was. And that's what it's become again. But it's sometimes hard to watch. It's hard to watch the programming on NXT. So we'll see. I mean, again, a lot's happened. Like I said, I don't want to make any rash judgments on the product yet until I see how some of the changes take effect with WWE, with Triple H, Stephanie, Nick Khan now in charge. Again, will they make any big, some people were, again, what I was reading was, Triple H will want to put his fingerprints all over the pay-per-view. I don't necessarily know that that's the case. Maybe they just let this pay-per-view play out the way it was originally scheduled to play out. Maybe a couple surprises here and there to get, like I said, I think now would be a time if you want to do the turn for Ronda to have her snap in that match. And look, man, I'm not saying you got to go full-blown heel, but she can go back more to being a badass to me, being a badass. And not saying she has to be a heel, but just a little bit more than I can't have any sympathy for Ronda Rousey. I've watched her kick ass. I've watched her get her ass kicked. I can't have any empathy for the Ronda Rousey character. I just can't. And when she tries to talk like a baby face, it's nails on the chalkboard to me. I'd rather have her just come out, say, I'm going to beat your ass, and drop the mic and leave. That's the Ronda Rousey I want to see. So I'm hoping that's what they do there. But again, it's going to be, or Logan Paul. Look, I mean, apparently the live audiences are booing the crap out of Logan Paul, which is why they didn't really give him an entrance at the beginning of Raw. And they did do it during his talk show, but the beginning of Raw opened with him and Miz fighting in the ring because they didn't want to, they're trying to get away from as much because he's getting booed. And man, I mean, look, man, I don't know if they should try to make him a baby face. I just feel like there's a disconnect there. If anybody knows the Paul brothers, they're not a lot of people that really like sit there and want to root for him all the time. I mean, I'll ask you guys on the chat now, Logan Paul, if you were to book him and bring him in, are you bringing him as a baby face or are you bringing him in as a heel? If you had to book Logan Paul, you booking him as a face or a heel? Because to me, he's a heel. And I get it. You did the turn, excuse me, a little cough and a sneeze at the same time. I know that, you did that at WrestleMania to where maybe you didn't think you were going to be able to sign Logan Paul. So you're like, okay, this way we write him off if we need to bring him back for a one-off. But now that he's there, yeah, it's all coming in heel. Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. I'm glad you guys agree with me. I'm glad. EWDGR. Welcome, sir, to the program. And they say heel as well. So, yeah, it's one of those things, man. I don't know sometimes. And again, Triple H and Stephanie just took over. This might have been in the plans with Vince. And again, a lot has come out of reports from writers in the rooms for some of the meetings. And I talked about it a little bit on the Tuesday one, was where they had to tone down some of the stuff that Vince wanted to do because they felt it would be offensive or, insensitive. So it's one of those things. It would be interesting to see. Armando says, Sean, you should challenge Paul. I'd be there to see. I'll do it, man. I'll do it. I mean, I was thrown in I don't know, anybody saw the Dolphins media, and then Hawkman came out and put in the cage fight. And apparently Kim Bokamper, everybody thinks, would win it. And they don't know who's standing back there in the shadows. I'll hit a mofo with a steel chair. I ain't worried about it. Now, Paul has gained. No, yeah, because now he's not boxing anymore, man. It's one of those things to where it's so funny, man. When you, man, I wish I could. He's a natural talker, and he's okay athletically, Giovanni. I agree with a lot of that, but to me, he's a natural heel. He's not a natural baby face. There's some guys that are born to be baby faces, Ricky Steamboat, Ricky Morton. And there's guys that are just born to be jackasses. The Miz, Logan Paul. I'll be throwing bows. I'll throw bows, Armando. No doubt about it. I have to sneak attack Bo Camper though. The mofo will take me down and beat me up. No, but it's one of those things where sorry. With Logan Paul, it's just, man, I think they had a vision because, again, look, with Loretta, and hopefully I said her name correctly, Logan Paul, when you're looking at these guys, Pat McAfee, it's really about the number of eyeballs that they bring to the product. That's why they're getting booked. And hell, they're talented. Don't get me wrong. They're talented. They're athletic and everything else there. But it's more about the eyes that they're bringing to the product that, again, it's one of those things where it's the casual wrestling fan, the casual MMA fan, the casual boxing fan that maybe likes Logan Paul and will follow Logan Paul wherever. Boom. Now they're watching WWE. Loretta, casual wrestling, casual MMA fan, likes her, follows her. Boom. Now their eyes are on that thing. Pat McAfee, talk show host, right? They saw how athletic he was with his feud with Adam Cole, and they're like, oh, we can get more stuff here. So they throw wrestlers on his on his show, more eyes on the product. He wrestles, his audience, of course, is going to tune in. And now you have more eyes on the product. It's how you bring casual fans and make them wrestling fans. When I say casual, I mean traditional wrestling fans. People that are like, hey, if I'm available, am I going to watch wrestling or am I going to click past it? Most people will click past it. But when you start throwing those eyes and people are like, oh, you know what? I watched it. That wasn't that bad. That pay-per-view wasn't that bad with Pat McAfee. And now they start giving the product a chance. That's one of the things that I was talking about with AEW to me is they don't try to hook a casual wrestling fan or a casual fan because they're worried about catering to their hardcore fans, which nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That is their model, their business model, but you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow that way to me. And that's kind of where AEW right now is. They're kind of stuck. When CM Punk comes back, they go a little bit over 1 million. When CM Punk's out, they're under 1 million every time. And you're paying a lot of money. I got to believe they're paying a lot of money. I don't know what they're paying these guys, but I got to believe you're having a pretty good little payroll. And I get it. You're ending contracts with a lot of the guys, but those guys couldn't have been making as much money as some of these damn guys you're bringing in. You can't tell me Alan Angels was making as much as for whatever you brought in Claudio Castagnoli for. You can't tell me that. And then you just signed the Briscoes to a long-term deal. I get it, but they're not signing and being exclusive to you unless you're giving them enough money to earn a living. Either that or they're slowly getting away from wrestling. So, it's one of those things to where I think for AEW to grow, they need to start bringing in more casual fans that might go past the show or whatever. They've got to figure out a way to get some of those. I thought the Dan Lambert thing was pretty good, mixing it up with the MMA guys. I don't know what happened there, but Dan Lambert hasn't been around the last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's another one of those things where they're trying to let it die down and then bring him back because he did that before. So maybe ultimately that's what they'll do. But they're getting some maybe MMA fans to cross over. You had Paige Van Zandt coming in. So again, they're trying to do some of that, but it just doesn't feel like they're doing enough of that to put a big dent because their numbers are not growing. Their numbers are staying between 850 and 1 million is where it's staying. Hasn't gone past that. When CM Punk debuted, it went up to 1.1, and then it's never gotten that far again. Let's see here. Go for the knees with Bo. I'll tell you now, if I go for the knees, I better take them out with whatever I hit them with or whatever I do. What is that? That's the What was the figure skater? Damn it. Tanya Harding. The Tanya Harding. What injury did Riddle get? They did something with when I can't remember the whole. Hold on a minute here. Let me get it. Some term that I've never heard of before. And again, it is a work injury, by the way, not a. Let's see here. Here it is. It is a. Of course, taking me forever. A brachial plexus injury, more commonly known as a stinger. And that basically was from when he was getting curb stomped by Seth Rollins. So, again, I think this is another time. Look, man, Triple H had a good say, and I saw it posted today, and I that's kind of what made me think of it when I saw it. What's to say Bray Wyatt doesn't come back? Vince McMahon's not in creative control anymore. Triple H is. I think Triple H would be more open to Bray Wyatt and having him more control of his character than what Vince McMahon was. Vince McMahon had a vision for the character. Bray Wyatt had another vision. Sometimes they went together. Most of the time they went a little bit away. You saw what happened with Alexa Bliss, right? You saw with the WrestleMania, the turn, and then what happened there? What happened after that? And then what happened to the Alexa Bliss character now? Now she's just she's Alexa Bliss carrying a doll. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure. I think Bray Wyatt made the right move. I'm not oiling no divas now. No. Frankie, they need to keep ROH. I said the same thing. I watched the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. And the one thing that the image, and again, when a pay-per-view goes off the air, that's usually the last image, and it's the last image you see. I get it. But that's usually the one thing, if it kind of hits home, it's the one thing you remember of the pay-per-view. And besides the great match between FTR and the Briscoes, the 2 out of 3s, that it stuck with me when you saw FTR with the tag team titles in the ring, and then you saw the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta with William Regal walk out on the stage, and they're holding the heavyweight title and the pure title. So now all your Ring of Honor titles, minus the women's title, is being held by AEW talent. And to me, that's no bueno. And apparently there was some talk before the pay-per-view. Gresham was upset because he felt the communication wasn't there. And one of the things that I've heard, and again, is that I guess you kind of know where you stand because they stopped communicating. At least this is the way it feels. And again, I get it. It's from every wrestler that's been released and everything else, so take it for what it is. But a lot of them complain, and I'm sorry, yes, Samoa Joe has the TV title. I'm sorry, the Ring of Honor TV title. So there's another one that you have there. Mercedes Martinez is the women's champion. She's defended on AEW TV, but I believe she signed to Ring of Honor, whereas I think everybody else has signed AEW deals. But, I lost thought of where I was going. Thanks, Frankie Fresco. You messed me up. Forgot where I was heading with this. Well, Frankie Fresco just threw me off. Thanks, Frankie. I appreciate it, buddy. Just messed up my whole... Doesn't take a lot, man. I'm telling you now. The guy was pissed. Oh, yes, John Gresham. Thank you, Frankie, for getting me back on track. It's like the squirrel runs across the screen. Like, what? But John Gresham was upset about, the communication. And one of the things that I'm seeing is really, if you're not in the plans of AEW, it seems to me that if you're not in the plans or you're not going to be maybe utilized, you don't get the best communication. You can kind of see the writing on the wall, if you will. And again, this is coming from a lot of the guys that were cut, but everybody says the same thing. They weren't really told anything. Their contract just expired. They were just told, hey, your contract's not being renewed. John Gresham apparently wasn't 100% sure, everything that was going on. It was told, I guess, to contact, some of the AEW coaches, and there's just a lot of shit going on there in the whole thing, I guess. And then, he did the right thing. He came out. He didn't even wear the octopus helmet and all that. Said he's going to take some time away from wrestling. Again, is that the case, or is it just kind of at that moment the raw emotions of because to be honest, I think he's the guy that should be the Ring of Honor heavyweight champion. I get it, Claudio Castagnoli. I get it. He's got, recognition and all that. But to me, Ring of Honor, it's Ring of Honor, man. I don't mean it the way it sounds. I wish I would have been able to wrestle Ring of Honor. I do. When you're looking at it, it's WWE, it's AEW, it's Impact, it's New Japan. If you want to throw NWA in there, depending on what the hell's going on with Nick Aldis and Corgan, you can throw them in there. And then Ring of Honor kind of falls a little bit there. Yeah, they're getting a little bit more recognition right now because Tony Khan owns them. But are you going to make your own competition? Are you going to try to build up Ring of Honor to compete with AEW? Sometimes, man, I think they don't think it through all the way. I mean, you got Castagnoli and Joe as your champion, your heavyweight champion, your TV champion there, right? If you look over on the other side, you've got Moxley right now as your interim, CM Punk as your champion, and then Wardlow as your TNT title. But I mean, when you look at it, are you trying to create your own competition? Because to me, Ring of Honor, you kept Gresham as your champion. You can keep Samoa Joe as the TV champion if you want to do that or everything like that. I just think you're starting to do what Vince McMahon did with ECW. Yes, I'm bringing ECW back. Yes, we're going to do ECW One Night Stand, and you'll see all your favorite ECW stars. But then I'm going to bring back ECW, and you're going to see WWE stars. And what happened to it? People pissed on it. That's what happened. And with that, I want to thank everybody that was on the show today. Frankie, Armando, Giovanni, WD Jr., Heat Fins. Where were we at? Heat Fins. Steve Chapman, of course. Dad, thank you. Let's see here. Everybody else. I think I got majority of you guys, man. Make sure to hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. Hit that notification button. So every time we go live, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. right here on the Big O Radio Show YouTube channel. And until Tuesday, 8 o'clock, don't forget SummerSlam. Don't forget SummerSlam. Don't forget Ric Flair's final match. We'll discuss all that right here Tuesday night, 8 p.m. And in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the sun, Sean State.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University